It was a late winter night, just past 11:30 p.m. The kind of cold that sinks into your bones, not just your skin. I was riding back from a friend's place, cutting through that abandoned stretch between the old quarry and the overgrown Cemetery Quarry Road, locals call it. It used to be busier back in the late 90s, but these days it's just cracked asphalt, bare trees clawing at the sky, and the feeling that you're being watched. No streetlights, just the faint beam from my bike's headlamp bouncing off patches of fog, and the sound of tires crunching against frostbitten gravel. About halfway through, I saw them, 3 women walking on the side of the road. No jackets, no scarves. Thin, pale dresses like they belonged in a different century. I slowed down, thinking maybe they were in trouble, but they didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge me, just kept walking, barefoot. One of them turned her head slightly as I passed, but her eyes, there was nothing behind them. Like staring into a broken mirror. My gut twisted hard. A gust of wind slammed into me, and I swear I heard whispering soft, layered, overlapping voices, like 100 murmurs buried under the breeze. The graveyard gate creaked open as I rode past it, though I hadn't seen anyone touch it. My breath started fogging up in front of me, not from the cold, but from panic. The numbness wasn't just physical anymore. It felt like my mind was going static, like a radio losing signal. Then my bike stopped, no reason. Tires weren't flat, chain was fine. I looked back, the road was empty. No women, no wind, dead silence. Until I heard footsteps behind me. But when I turned, no one was there, just rows of broken tombstones glinting in the moonlight, and the shape of a handprint frozen in frost on my seat. Not mine, too small, too delicate. I walked the rest of the way home. Next morning, I checked my GPS trail. It glitched out for 23 minutes in that stretch. Just blank. My bike works fine now, but I don't ride there anymore. Not after midnight, not ever. Something waits on Quarry Road, and I think it remembers me. My story takes place 5 years ago during Halloween night. At the time, the pandemic had most things shut down, and I was feeling restless at home. I started chatting with Leo Asterisk, a guy I had dated in the past. Things between us had ended with unresolved tension and some resentment. We used to share a lot, including a love for horror and H.P. Lovecraft. Wanting to reconnect and maybe clear the air, I asked if he'd like to go for a walk that night. He agreed. We met under the church near our respective homes around 9:30. The streets were quiet and empty, which felt unusual, even eerie, for Halloween night. We decided to walk through the old part of town. Normally, this area was full of tourists and had a vivid nightlife, but at that time, it felt almost abandoned. We passed only a few scattered people. Both of us are fast walkers, and before long, we reached the foot of the castle, one of the city's landmarks. We had 2 choices: head back the same way, or continue along the narrow boardwalk by the cliff's edge that eventually led to a large park. The second route was more isolated and creepy, covered by tall trees and quite dark. Still caught up in conversation, we chose to keep going without really thinking about it. As we walked the dim path, I started to feel a little spook, but in a fun Halloween kind of way. I began joking about horror tropes and telling creepy stories. At one point, I stopped under a really creepy flickering lamppost and said it felt like the perfect setting for a slasher movie. 2 people, alone in a creepy place, far from help during a Halloween night. We laughed, but a feeling of unease lingered beneath the humor. After about 10 minutes, we reached the park and looked back toward where we had first met. As we approached the entrance to the old town, we noticed a sudden commotion. Police cars, flashing lights, and ambulances entering the area. We asked a bystander what was happening. He said someone was roaming around with a knife, scaring people. I brushed it off, thinking it was probably a Halloween prank or a drunk guy acting out. The man advised us to head home and lock our doors. I walked Leo asterisk to his place, then hurried back to mine, feeling increasingly unsettled. Once I got home, the reality of the situation hit me. My social media was full of updates about what had happened. As I read through the posts and news alerts, my hands began to shake. That night, around 10:30 p.m., a man dressed in medieval-style clothing had gone on a stabbing rampage in the old part of my town, Quebec City. Armed with a katana-style sword, he killed 2 people and seriously injured 5 others, all at random. Piecing together the timeline, I realized the attacks had begun near the castle, just behind us as we were walking toward the boardwalk. If we had chosen to retrace our steps instead of taking this route, we likely would have crossed paths with the killer. Later, I found out a friend of mine had also been out walking that same night, not far from where we had been. He wasn't as lucky. He was attacked and left for dead. He survived, but lost a finger in the process. Now, 5 years later, I still think about how surreal it is that my own city became the scene of a real-life slasher attack on Halloween night, and how narrowly and randomly I avoided becoming part of it. Looking back, I'm struck by how fragile and unpredictable life can be. Sometimes the smallest decisions, like which way to turn, can end up meaning the difference between life and death. The Man by the Tracks, a true story from Colebrook, Connecticut. This happened in the summer of 2022, when I was staying in Colebrook, a small, quiet town in northern Connecticut. I was helping my uncle with some work on a fixer-upper he owned just outside town. The place was tucked back behind some old stone walls and forgotten woods, with not much around but the occasional passing car and the sound of bugs at night. There was a trail that ran alongside an old, barely used set of train tracks. It cut across the edge of town, quiet and half forgotten, with weeds growing through the cracks and broken fencing lining the sides. A few people used it during the day, but at night it emptied out completely. I liked to walk it after sunset. It helped me think, kept my head clear. No one ever really bothered me. Until one night, it was around 9:30 p.m. The trail was mostly dark except for the scattered orange streetlights that barely lit a few patches here and there. I had my hands in my hoodie pocket, just walking slow, listening to the wind through the brush. Then I saw him. He was standing off to the side of the tracks on the gravel, just past a patch of tall weeds, maybe 15 feet away. At first, I thought he was just a guy waiting for someone. But he wasn't checking his phone, wasn't smoking, just standing, facing me. I kept walking, didn't look at him too long. As I passed, I could feel his eyes on my back, that itchy electric feeling, like he was watching every step. When I glanced back a minute later, he was gone, not further down the trail, not heading the other way, just gone. I picked up my pace. About 5 minutes later, I came around a bend where the trail curves hard near an old retaining wall, with overgrown brush and rusted fencing on one side. It's a dead spot, no houses, no lights, nothing. He was there again, standing closer this time, in the middle of the path. No sound, no motion, just there. And this time, I saw his face, blank, pale, not angry, not smiling. Just empty, like he wasn't really there behind his own eyes. We stared at each other for maybe 3 seconds. It felt like a full minute. My mouth went dry. I wanted to say something, anything, but my legs moved before my brain did. I turned and started walking fast. Then I heard footsteps behind me, soft at first, then heavier. Not running, not chasing, just matching my pace. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I was scared that if I did, he'd be right there. When I reached the intersection that leads back into the center of town, I cut hard across a yard, jumped a low stone wall, and ran until my legs burned. When I finally looked back, the path was empty. No one. I didn't sleep that night. The next evening, I walked the long way around town to avoid the tracks. But out of habit, I passed near one of the trail entrances on my way to the market. There was something nailed to the trail sign, a folded piece of paper stuck through with arrested mail. No writing on the outside, just a single word handwritten on the inside. Soon. I never went near that trail again. And to this day, sometimes when I walk home late in a new town, I check over my shoulder. Because that guy, he wasn't following me. He was waiting for me. A lot of strange things happened to me when I was just a boy, but this was the weirdest. I was 11 at the time. I was about 11 years old, and it was past midnight, 12:30 a.m. to be exact. My parents were asleep, but my cousin, who was 18 at the time, was still up. I had to take out the trash, so I brought my dog Barry with me. He was mostly black with a few white spots, always alert and always by my side. The trash can was only a 30-second walk from the front door. I tossed the bag in, then turned around and called for Barry, but there was nothing. No footsteps, no tags jingling, just silence. I turned on my flashlight and looked around. He wasn't there. Confused, I started walking back toward the house. That's when I heard it. Heavy, fast, pounding footsteps coming up behind me. I whipped around and saw something I'll never forget. Charging at me was something completely black, darker than the night around it, like it absorbed light itself. A massive black figure running straight at me. It wasn't a dog or a pig or a horse, but somehow it looked like all three. Its body was wrong, just wrong. Its movement too fast, too heavy. It made no sound except for the thunder of its steps. No matter how fast I ran, it always felt like it was 2 steps behind me. This feeling of dread and fear instantly shot through me as I sprinted to the door, heart racing, flung it open, and slammed it shut behind me. I sat there on the floor, gasping, trying to process what just happened. Then it hit me. Oh, shoot. I left Barry outside. I start crying as I think of what that thing could have done to my innocent dog. I was scared to death, but I couldn't leave him out there. So I stood up, ready to go back out to find him, heart racing, until Barry came walking toward me from his kennel inside the house. Inside, calm and normal. He had never left the house. He was inside the whole time. Whatever I called to out there, it wasn't my dog.